Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is a 1990 movie apparently based on Hamlet by Shakespeare. I say apparently because this piece of cinematic art uses that merely as a very unorthodox setting to tell quite a different tale. If you are interested, the complete movie can be found on YouTube, and I have placed it in a recently created playlist on this channel titled Recommendations to Contemplate On. So do take a look and watch the movie to contemplate yourselves. I highly recommend it. Now in it there is a scene, I will include the scene in the description and I ask all of you to pay attention to all the dialogue in it, where the two main characters who, up until then, had been outside of time, as represented by all coin tosses falling as heads, meet a troupe of actors led by a charismatic presenter and salesman. As soon as they see the main characters, they're excited by the prospect of an audience, which is not only their reason to exist, but also their source of energy. Their leader approaches the duo and tempts them into selecting or participating in a play of their choice. It can be a degenerate, times being as they are, he says, but they are so starved of an audience, of energy, that they will act whatever is requested of them. All plays that they can act, the salesman says, have, however, only one rule. Whatever the genre or type of play is selected, blood is compulsory. Blood is to the unliving actors, who are paid by the living audience, their gold, their coin. So, as soon as the more unaware of the two main characters selects and pays for a play with a single gold coin, he actually paid the troupe of actors with their blood, as the other did not say no or refused the idea either. In the closing scene of the movie, this idea of saying no or declining will become of importance, but I will not spoil it for you. The play then commenced, and the coin toss then changed to tails. Now this presents to us an important part of the predicament we find ourselves in each of our individual points of view. In a previous contemplation named Guilt and Victimhood, it was presented how guilt is used by the perpetrators and victimhood is accepted by the victim. So it felt right that, as this contemplation will take a look at it from the opposite point of view in order to balance it, that its title should also be an inversion of that and become instead Victim and Guilthood. For the lie to set in and reach deeply in you, it must have mixed in something that is true. This is a translation I just made of a stanza by António Aleixo, a Portuguese popular poet, which I exemplify as how lies work. If you are to believe in something false, then it has to have something true in it. However, I would like to offer a different interpretation, born out of this contemplation into the subject. And that is that the lie is only believed by the other if the other identifies with it and therefore considers it true. It takes a liar to believe a liar's lie. Let me try to explain that. If a liar tells a person, "You are stupid," and he believes it, that means that the liar is merely telling that person the same type of lie that he tells himself. The individual already tells himself, "I am stupid," which makes him a liar to begin with. That is, a liar before having become the victim of that same lie. Of course, if these brief contemplations have been of any use to you, you probably by now have identified that the voice inside that person's mind that states, "I am stupid," is not the actual self, nor even the ego, but a character that, often, is a mere parasite holding on, conspiring for survival, even if it means its host's misery. Yet it is the ego's responsibility to choose, as it stands between body and spirit, as a vehicle of soul, as a guardian and a caretaker. And if the ego chose to identify with the voice that stated, "I am stupid," then he has decided upon that type of punishment for himself and to feed the parasite instead of his truth connection. Now, what conditions made it possible for the ego to identify with that parasitical statement? What made it possible for the ego to be victim in this example of being told the lie that he is stupid and believing it, being belief of the lie here, the payment in blood and suffering that always follows the participation into that particular individual play, reinforced by the acting out of the actors in your immediate reality bubble. Carl Jung stated that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So in that sense, to the uncontemplative ego of the given example, being stupid or being called stupid and reacting to it, which amounts to more or less the same because we only react emotionally to what we believe it truly affects us, thus being an identification with the lie, is seen by himself as the ego's fate, because it did not realize yet that the lie within pre-existed the liar without, and so what the external liar told him is a simple copy of the lie within himself. But what internal lie is that the ego carried before he fell victim to the external lie? Well, that type of victim identification is always, in my contemplation at least, corresponding inversely to the type of guilthood the soul behind the ego carries within. So, if an ego believes when someone tells him, "You are stupid," it means that the lie, "I am stupid," already resides in the ego, because in the subconscious soul behind it resides a certain type of guilthood about having made someone else victim of that same lie of "you are stupid." So the guilthood of having perpetrated the lie on others transforms the ego into a victim of the same guilt, in order to offer opportunities to bring it to the fore and for a conscious choice to be made. This time, preferably, a choice with higher morality, which eliminates the core lie. If therefore the ego that is constantly being fated with becoming a victim of being considered stupid, which is of course both a lie and a spell, and one day when faced with his repeating fate, the ego chooses morally and stops believing the lie as a victim, he then also clears the preceding lie from the point of view of the perpetrator, from the soul. So, in summary for this example, one who used to apply the lie, "You are stupid," onto others would tend to get a certain type of inversely equivalent guilt stuck to his soul that would make him fall victim of the same lie in reversed conditions. Yes, some traditions call it karma or karma, but that term, to me personally at least, carries with it a sort of sense of inevitability that is neither factual or necessary, because it is not inevitable to come to pass if the lie's guilt is purified willingly, nor is it helpful, as it tends to get the ego even more wrapped up in his own fate instead of contemplating on its causes. Our true Father does not wish for, nor does he condone, our suffering. It is the false salesman, the leader of the troupe of actors, that feeds on it. But if the concept of karma works well for you, then, yes, it is equivalent to this presentation. Carl Jung also stated that he who looks outside dreams, and he who looks inside awakes. As indeed that which we carry a sort of guilthood for makes of us externally, in other contexts, a victim of the same. And make no mistake, although the example here used the accusatory statement of stupid to reveal the point, this is also true for the inverse extreme. For being called bright can also imprint a sense of vanity or pride that carries with it a guilthood that will manifest inversely when the ego falls victim of the play being paid for by his own blood or suffering, as he throws the gold coin into the well and made his subconscious wish come to the conscious. It works for all the deadly sins. So only when the lie is cleared for what it is, a piece of falsehood, can then truth come and take its place there, returning to the source another piece that had fallen into the theater of the world. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Yes, this too is a quote by Carl Jung that reveals clearly that it is in the darkness of the play going on around us, victimizing us in one way or another in our reality, that lies our own salvation, as it is showing us the reflected image of our own guilthood. Balance can only be achieved when neither, in the used example, the statements "you are stupid" or "you are bright" are believed and reacted to, and consequently identified with and paid for with the gold coin of our blood, for the play to show us the tragedy in reversed points of view. So, in that sense, the tyrants, who are nothing more than characters acting out their own natures, as they have nothing else but this stage and the scripts they are given to play, being not counted among the living, being only evil and only false, they are actually paid by us with our internal soul belief in and consent for the lies of the play or falsehood to make of us victims of our own soul's unresolved guilthood, that is, our own pieces of false tyranny. I find it fitting to finish the contemplation with the poem The Grey Monk by William Blake. Here goes. I die, the mother said. My children die for lack of bread. What more has the merciless tyrant said? The monk sat down on the stony bed. The blood red ran from the grey monk's side. His hands and feet were wounded wide. His body bent, his arms and knees like the roots of ancient trees. His eye was dry, no tear could flow. A hollow groan first spoke his woe. He trembled and shuddered upon the bed. At length, with a feeble cry, he said, When God commanded this hand to write, in the studious hours of deep midnight, He told me the writing I wrote should prove the bane of all that on earth I loved. My brother starved between two walls, his children's cry my soul appalls. I mocked at the rack and grinding chain, my bent body mocks their torturing pain. Thy father drew his sword in the north, with his 1,000 strong he marched forth. Thy brother has armed himself in steel, to avenge the wrongs thy children feel. But vain the sword and vain the bow, they never can work war's overthrow. The hermit's prayer and the widow's tear alone can free the world from fear. For a tear is an intellectual thing, and a sigh is the sword of an angel king, and the bitter groan of the martyr's woe is an arrow from the Almighty's bow. The hand of vengeance found the bed to which the purple tyrant fled. The iron hand crushed the tyrant's head and became a tyrant in his stead.